Hi investors, Nick Garner here. I just thought I'd do a really quick run through on the renovations process just to give you an idea of how it basically works. The way it goes is that we source properties for clients. Most every property we source needs some work, whether it's some minor painting and decorating up to complete overhaul of the property. And what I found was that everything was a bit ad hoc and a bit not great, and so I decided to work with everyone to pull together a process that is very tight, very organized, and very transparent, so that clients know exactly what they're in for, and they can collaboratively work with us to optimize the works for the contract. And the way it goes is that we have a lot of information about a property. So we have the viewing information, we have the real estate photographs, sometimes we have 3D walkthroughs, and we usually have a condition survey from an RICS surveyor. And then what we do is, as the contract draws towards completion, or the property draws towards completion, we then organize access to the property, and either Adriana or I will kind of know who is best for what property, i.e. which contractors. And it's generally based on either jurisdiction, i.e. which area we're working in, or contract value, or a combination of the both. Typically, small works go to one contractor, medium works, which is £2,500 and up to about 30 will go to another contractor, and then work above 30,000 will typically go to another contractor, and each of them is specialized in a particular segment of work. And this is very important to give the right contractors the right work, because then they know what they're doing. They can just motor through it and get it done. Anyway, so that contractor, whoever it'll be, will go to the site, they'll take photographs, they'll take video, and then we organize a video call and we record it, and then we share it with you, the client, and with Adriana, and then Adriana will go through that whole video piece by piece, and she'll transcribe all the different tasks that need to be done onto a spreadsheet. And I've got a web page here, and you can see the examples of the spreadsheet, and we go into a lot of detail. And then that spreadsheet is on Google Documents, and we then share that with the client, and the client has edit access, and they can also make adjustments. So they can say, yes, I want that, I don't want that, and we can have an ongoing conversation with the client. And generally the rule of thumb is that that the money is to be spent on optimizing rental value. So for example, good money well spent is painting and decorating, for instance, changing the carpets, replacing a gas hob with an electric hob. A bad use of funds might be adding an extension to a property, or let's say reorganizing the floor plan so it's slightly more optimal. And then you have other issues, which are things like the roof needs work on it or may need replacing. Now, typically what we do on the buy-to-let side is we catch those issues well before completion. So if a property needs a lot of work, but it'll only give a marginal gain on rentable value, then we'd probably avoid that property. And a good example of that would be, for example, upgrading double glazing, replacing the roof, redoing the wiring, redoing the plumbing and the boiler. These are all basics that a property must have, and if it doesn't have it, then it just decreases the rentable value rather than optimizes the rental value. Anyway, we go through all of this with the client, and then we end up with a final list of tasks, and you can see that in the spreadsheet. And there are two sets of invoices. Well, so the next step is the contract itself, and we use something called EverSign, and there are three parties who sign it. There's us, Investmore, and then there's the contractor, and then there's the client. And in that contract, as you'll see when you look at the web page, which goes through all of this stuff, it's a combination of the small works contract, our pre-contract management contract, and then the estimate. So it's all very watertight, very legally verifiable. Client goes through it. If client isn't happy about the contract or terms or whatever, they can say, and we can have some back and forth and agree whatever we agree. And anyway, ultimately, based on lots of experience with this, clients just sign it because it makes sense and it's fair. And also they know what they're in for because they've seen the contract costs evolve over time. So therefore they know exactly what there is. And if there's going to be a question about, well, why is it this amount of money and whatever, well, we've already been there. We've had plenty of time to talk about it. And so it makes the process very smooth and means that everyone is a stakeholder in the thing, a fair stakeholder, as it were. So I think that's why clients like this process, because it is very detailed, very transparent, and very equitable for all parties. Anyway, so contract gets signed, and then there are typically 3 invoices to be paid. There's typically a deposit, which the contractor will issue. So the way we've structured it legally is that the contractor, your contract is with the contractor, not us, not Investmore, because we don't take enough money out of it to warrant the risks and the aggravation inherent in becoming a renovations company. We're a property sourcing business, and that's what we concentrate on, and that's where we manage risk on that side. And anyway, so the contractor will send you an invoice as per the agreed contract, and that's typically a percentage of the contract value for them to get started. They then get on with it, and depending on the size of the contract and number of staged payments, there would be either invoices every couple of weeks, or there would just be a final invoice at the end of contract. And then we would also send Investmore, we send you an invoice which is typically between 6% and about 10% of contract value, depending on the size of contract. So the bigger the contract, the smaller the percentage. That's how it works, by the way. And we would send you an invoice, and that covers the pre-contract management and the referral side, and effectively we act as a party, an interested party who offer due diligence and also help with project management. So that's how that goes. Anyway, so contract gets finished, and then for a lot of our clients, they use one of our shareholder. Our main shareholder is a company called Charles Louis. They're a group of companies, and one of the businesses is a lettings management business, and Layla is involved with that. She heads up that side of things, and typically if it's in Greater Manchester, Layla gets involved if clients are happy. They usually are, because she's very good, and she then handles the lettings management from there. And then we get a really smooth transition from, oh, this is a property I like, can you organize a viewing, to let's do an offer, which is all the stuff we handle on the sourcing side, and then accepted offer. Then we help with sales progression to get it through to the end, to completion. And then once completion needs renovation, we help with that to make sure that that goes smoothly. And then we also help with lettings management. And we've had to get very integrated, let's say, mainly because we want the control. As in, we want to make sure that clients are looked after and are treated well, because we know that it's very easy for the opposite to happen if we pass them on to people we don't know. So therefore the whole process is very tight and controlled, and I'm constantly keeping an eye on things and making sure that everything is as it should be. So there you go, that's how it all fits together, and I hope that's useful, and see you soon.